Cleveland Browns are a team that I think really has to hit on some picks early on in this NFL draft. Now, I think they've done a really good job this offseason bringing in some quality veterans through free agency. The guys they brought in, Takk McKinley, he'll be opposite Myles Garrett as the edge rusher, defensive end. Anthony Walker from the Colts, middle linebacker. He should be a guy that comes in day one and starts. They also brought in John Johnson and Troy Hill from the Los Angeles Rams. John Johnson, I'm assuming he'll be a starter at safety. Troy Hill, not quite sure what's going to happen there. A lot of that still depends on whether or not Greedy Williams can come back healthy. He missed all of last season with a shoulder injury, I believe, nerve damage in his shoulder, something of that nature. So we'll have to see if he can come back healthy. And they also get Andrew Billings back, who opted out last season because of COVID. So I think the Browns have done a good job this offseason filling some of those holes that they had on defense, because that was probably their biggest issue the entire season last season. Now, I thought the defense played hard. I thought they did some good things on occasion. They were giving up a chunk of yards, especially through the air. But, they played some tough football, and honestly, they did win a couple games for the Browns last season. So I think first-year coordinator, not a ton of talent out there. They did what they could and made the best of it. But I think the pieces that they added this offseason are really going to help them this upcoming season. So as far as the NFL draft, the first pick that the Cleveland Browns have is pick number 26. And in my opinion, I think they need to hit on this pick. I think this pick, we're talking potential starter here. This guy has to be a starter or in the rotation somehow. And where I think the Browns are still pretty weak right now is the defensive end spot. You have Myles Garrett, who we all know how good he is. You also have Takk McKinley, who they brought in via free agency. I think he's a decent player. I think he's an upgrade over what the Browns have had, but he's still kind of an unproven player, still some untapped potential there. So you can't necessarily just count on him as a guy that's going to come in and just immediately have an impact, because he hasn't been that player quite yet throughout his career. Now, he has some potential, but we still gotta wait and see for all of that. So what I think the Browns should be doing at number 26, I think they need to be drafting a defensive end edge player. And the two guys I really have my eye on, the two guys are Jaelan Phillips out of the University of Miami and Kwity Paye out of the University of Michigan. Now, I think these guys are 1 and 2 as far as the edge guys coming out in the draft. Jaelan Phillips is a guy that transferred to Miami, took some time off of football, but was originally a 5-star recruit for UCLA. Came back to Miami this past season, and he went out there and did his thing and really put his name on the map. So I like Jaelan Phillips a lot. Big body guy, really good athleticism, physical at the point of attack, all that good stuff. Plays with really good technique, strong, doesn't get pushed around. So I really, really like what he does out there. Another thing is he plays with a really high motor. That's one of the things that really stood out to me when I watched him on film. And I think if he's there, the Browns should really consider taking him. Another guy that I like as far as the edge rushers is Kwity Paye. He's another guy that's really impressive when you watch him on film. Now, his style of play is a little bit different than Phillips. I think he's probably the best run defender between the two. He's really, really solid at the point of attack, and he's strong, man. He's really strong, doesn't get pushed around at all. He plays with really good leverage, and he also does a good job of getting off blocks and making plays on the football. As a pass rusher, he's not that bad either. Now, he's not a speed demon off the edge, but I do think he has the ability and the athleticism to get after the passer. So I don't think that's an area where he's going to have any issues at all. Now, he's not Chase Young or anything like that, but I still think he's good overall as a pass rusher and just overall as a defensive end in general. So at number 26, I think the Browns need to seriously consider taking one of those two defensive ends if they're still there. And that's the thing about it. I'm not quite sure if either one of those guys is going to be there at number 26. Is a possibility, but we still have to wait and see. So if the Browns can get their hands on one of those guys, then I would be really happy. Now, a lot of this also is going to depend on what they do in free agency. It's not over yet. There's been some rumblings about Jadeveon Clowney signing with the Browns. So if they do sign him, then forget everything I just said for the past 5 minutes about them drafting the defensive end. If they do get Clowney, then I do think they probably should look elsewhere on their defense and try to fill some more holes. And the next hole that I do think they need to fill is at corner. As of right now, like I said, they only have Denzel Ward and Troy Hill as their starters right now. Not quite sure what's going to happen with Greedy Williams. We'll see. But even if he does come back healthy, he missed an entire season, so I'm not going to expect him to go out there and just be an elite all-pro corner. I'd assume he's going to be a little rusty. I'd assume he'd have to shake the cobwebs off a little bit and get back in the groove of things. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens. So for that reason, I think the Browns should consider taking a corner. Like I said, with the Jadeveon Clowney stuff, we're going to assume that they don't sign him. Just say they don't sign him. They take an edge guy at 26. So now we're moving on to the second round where they have pick number 59. And in the second round, I think they should be drafting the DB here, drafting the cornerback here. And the guy that I'm really looking at is Kelvin Joseph out of the University of Kentucky. I think this guy, he's not being talked about enough. I think he's an excellent player. He has really good movement skills, man. He was a guy that was at LSU. He was at LSU originally and transferred from there, ended up at Kentucky. I mean, he's out there in the SEC going against some of the best talent at receiver in the country. So he's got that under his belt. Like I say, he checks all of the boxes as far as his athleticism, movement skills, change of direction, quick twitch, all of that. He has really good ball skills. This guy attacks the ball in the air, and I think that's another positive that I see with him. He's going to be a guy that's going to go get the ball and try to score with it. So I really like that. He's not being talked about enough. I think he's a first-round talent, but I'm not sure if he's going to end up going in the first round. So we'll have to see. But really talented player. Also, another thing, he's a guy with great size as well. His frame is really good. I think he's about 6'2", 190, 195 pounds, something like that. So big corner with ball skills, and he has really good athleticism. You can't pass on those guys. That's a guy that I think, like I said, has first-round talent that might go a little bit later and might be there for a team like the Browns to take at number 59. So we'll see what happens, but those are the two positions where I think the Browns need to address in the draft, and I think they need to get guys that could potentially go out there and be starters or at least, serious contributors as rookies. First guy, like I said, or the first position, like I said, defensive end, Jalen Phillips, Kwity Paye. If they're there at 26, take one of those guys. Unless you get Jadeveon Clowney, then you could take that pick and do some things with it. But if you don't get Clowney, Kwity Paye, Jalen Phillips, if they're there at 26, second round, need to address that corner situation. Still up in the air on Greedy Williams. Got Troy Hill, got Denzel Ward. Need some more depth at least. All right, you need some depth at least. You need another guy that can come in and play right away. That guy is Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky. If he's there at 59, I think the Browns should pull the trigger on that.